Good afternoon, YouTube. So I did decide to make a video about my bout with the C word. We're going to say the C word because everyone gets banned for talking about this. I tried to do some videos to see what other people have been saying about how their illness went down, and most of them were taken down. I couldn't find really anything. So I'm giving this video for informative purposes also. I'm also going to talk about this documentary I watched, which was 411, and it's about people who went missing in the park system and how ridiculous it is, and my hair is driving me crazy. I got a lot of hair. So I'm going to talk about that at the end because COVID thing is going to be short. And here's my disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a virologist. I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you how COVID is going to be for you because we're all wonderful little snowflakes. And even though we have statistics to go by, and I fell in line with those statistics, I feel, for my health and age level, I can't tell you how you're going to react. Everyone is a snowflake. One of the things I have a problem with in our medical community is actually the fact that they treat us all like a statistic, and we are not statistics, which is why I advocate for talking to your doctor before you have any kind of medicine that you take, vaccine that you take, or procedure done. I am not advocating or not advocating for any vaccines. I am in no way advocating any kind of treatment of any kind. This is my own personal experience and what happened to me. Whew! Got that out of the way. So basically, my husband was vaccinated, double vaccinated. I think he had Moderna. I am not vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated because I'm on a lot of different drugs. I'm like a science dish right now. A lot of them are immunosuppressants, and personally, I don't feel comfortable because this hasn't been studied for 20 plus years with all the drugs that I'm on. But at the end of the day, my personal reasons for not being vaccinated is really none of your business. And if that makes you mad watching this, you can just stop watching because you're going to be triggered. I'm just going to tell you. So we went to Mexico. I believe that I caught it on the airplane. Look, masked or not, we're masked the whole time. If you're right next to somebody and you're breathing recycled air, I touch things and I touch my mask and then I'm breathing in that mask, yeah, we got it probably on the plane. So take that information and do with it what you want. But we were masked the whole time. He was vaccinated and we used lots of hand sanitizer because I did not really particularly want to get sick, again, on a lot of drugs. I'm a walking science experiment right now. So while we're there, we have business we're taking care of, but we are doing a couple fun things that I wanted to plan. And the whole time I was there, like within 2 days, I developed a light cough. I really didn't feel bad. So I thought it was just allergies because I have allergies all of the time. And honestly, my allergies are worse than what I was feeling. So I actually thought I was having a light case of just allergies, probably from changing locations, being around new allergens, and they don't have Sudafed there. And my main thing is ear issues, like fluid gets trapped in my ears and face. And the pain is really bad normally. It's like being stabbed in your ear, and I'm not really exaggerating even a little bit when I say how bad the pain can be for me. It's pretty excruciating. And this wasn't that bad. Like I had drainage, things were running. I wasn't as swollen as normal, so I wasn't that worried about it. The cough did make me worry because that is unusual. I don't normally have a cough. I haven't had a cough in a very long time, but once I had laryngitis for 3 months, so still not that unusual. I was tested before I left for COVID because you can't come back into the States with COVID, and he just put it like right at the tip of my nose. And I was coughing when I was in there, and I think he knew that I possibly would be a positive and didn't do a full test on me because they want you to go home. One thing I've learned about traveling in many countries, I've had my passport stolen, I've had things happen, and they will help you get home. Like, they don't want you staying in their country, no matter what country it is. So I go home, and by at this point, it would have been like a week and a half that I'd been infected, like came in contact with it. By that Monday, I really was feeling bad. So I just slept all the time. I really had trouble being awake during the day. And I was just taking Tylenol for the pain. I did have body aches, but I was taking Tylenol for the pain. The cough got bad by that Monday. So a week and a half later, I was coughing very hard. Now, this is the bad part where I did not feel well. Monday and Tuesday, I was coughing so hard that I threw up both nights. And from that point on, then I started to get on the upswing. But I still had, even 2 weeks later, trouble going up and down the stairs. I would lose my breath. And so I thought maybe I really did have COVID. Alex had been sick, so I wasn't positive. I never lost my sense of smell. I never lost my sense of taste. I never had a fever. I mean, so it was really up in the air as to if I had COVID or not. So I got the antibody test and I was chock full of antibodies. So most probably I had COVID. I talked to the doctor there, and the doctor made me very confident, but I can't relay any of that information because to do so would set some people off and maybe get this video taken down. Oh, and I said the C word. I didn't mean to. I'm not going to redo the video. It might get taken down because I said what I had. At any rate, long story short, this is my advice to everybody, and you can disagree with this. This is my opinion. This is my plan that I plan on taking. So taking the antibody test is a tool to put in your toolbox. There's nothing wrong with taking that if you've been vaccinated or if you think you've been in contact with it. And it lets you know where you stand. My plan is to be tested monthly so that I know where my antibody levels are, what my T cells are doing. I could tell you how long that I was told they would last, and people would be mad. But I know people who've tested for over a year have been testing regularly. Some vaccinated, some who got sick naturally, according to this person. So I am not going to give any other information, but I don't think it's bad to test because some people don't get those antibodies. And I think that there are reasons that they may not be wanting people to get tested right now. And I'm going to like not go into conspiracy theory mode, which is really, it isn't. It's just whatever. I'm not going to talk about that, but you know, we get conflicting information, and there are other reasons you may be getting that information. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to know your own info, you know, and just having that information. There's nothing wrong with having information. So I don't think there's anything wrong with getting an antibody test. And so I suggest everyone get an antibody test. Like, get one. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's my opinion. I wasn't that sick. It wasn't a big deal. Statistically, I fall in line with someone my age, how sick they would get, who's not vaccinated, and my health levels. If I had not been on immunosuppressants and we went back 2 years, I probably would have never even have thought that I had it. I probably would have just thought that I had an allergy attack. I might not even have developed the cough part. I mean, that's just the reality. And I'm not saying that's what will happen to you. I'm saying that's what happened to me and what I think would have happened a couple years ago. If you have I also think that if you're even carrying an extra 10 pounds of weight on you, even that much can cause inflammation. And that's what your main issue with COVID is. It's inflammation. Anything that could cause some of that, your body to overreact or whatever, you're going to have more problems. Anyways, 411. Okay, I don't know if people know this, but there's this whole documentary and conspiracy where people think that there's like Sasquatches and skinwalkers eating people out in the national forest, and that's why people get lost. And oh my God, we can't find a trace of them. And then 3 or 4 years later, we find, you know, jackets or whatever. Most people in this video were unfortunately children. It was very sad, but there are stories, if you read people who believe this, about people of all different ages. Now, I'm an avid hiker. I haven't really hiked much for 2 years. But I am an avid hiker, and I have seen some things. So this is the reality. People go out in the woods, and they have absolutely no respect for where they're at, or their surroundings. And it shocks me because I live in Tennessee, and most of the people at the places I'm hiking are Tennesseans. So they're not like New Yorkers. I see people, like there's this one hike I've done 2 times, and the hike primarily you have to walk through a creek bed, which is dangerous because it's slippery. And this lady was holding her infant, not even in a carrier, mind you. She was holding her infant. I see people there not wearing appropriate clothing for the weather, not wearing appropriate clothing for the hike. I met a girl one time, I went off track because I had to pee. Any hike over 2 hours, I'm going to have to pee. Well, I always keep Kleenex and stuff so I can pee, and I get off the track, and there she is crying because she's lost, and she's been looking to get back on the trail. Don't get off the trail, because people get off the trail, and that's how they get lost, and that's how they end up missing. A lot of people get off the trail. If you have a child, and that child's under 10 to 12, children develop differently. There's a lot of trails they don't need to be on. If there's any trail where there's a ranger at the start of the trail, and they're telling you bad things that can happen to you, don't bring your children. I've been on several that are like that, by the way. And so I'm like, why do you have a 5-year-old? Do you think this is safe? Like, The ranger's telling you about the bears. I don't know. I mean, in animals is a problem. I bring my dog because my dog is going to make a lot of noise and she's going to bark. But even so, I could one day come across an animal that I don't want to come across. So that's another issue. I've ran into snakes. I've ran into, like, you have to be respectful of all the animals. They live there. That's their home. And they will eat you. Some of them will eat you. Like, people probably get eaten. Like, the one kid, I was like, oh, the story I was reading, or he listened to on the thing, oh, he was obviously eaten by a mountain lion. I saw the clothes they found 2 years later. I was like, oh, but like, a mountain lion ate your baby. No offense, but he did. You know, there's nothing wrong with those leashes, particularly when you're out in the woods and kids, like, you turn your back 1 second, the kid's off the trail. We're not talking about Walmart. Like, it can be dangerous out there. And another thing that happened to me, one time, there are bad people out there too. So I'm not saying that bad people don't exist out there and that bad people may not harm your child out there and that all of the things that happened were just, they got lost, fell, or whatever. No, they're bad people out there, because one of the best ways, if you were a rapist or a serial killer, you find some woman off by herself or a child or whatever, that's a good opportunity. Nobody sees you. Nobody. I one time ran into this couple and I had that vibe, man. They had that vibe. They were following me. It was like a place where I went up real high to look down, and there's like rock formations. I can't remember where it was, but I've never been more scared in my life. I had the dog with me, and they were just something about them. The woman kept talking to me about, and the guy was following, and he was really big. I popped my pocket knife out, which I had a good sized one, and I just started messing around like with it to make sure they saw it, because if I could give anybody, there goes my dog. If I could give anybody any advice about being in the wilderness or being out in a city anywhere by yourself and you think you're being followed, like, don't come across like you don't know what's going on, and don't come across as if you're an easy target. So I like pulled that knife out. I was like, yep. And then when she finally turned around, I got over her side and I ran probably a good mile downhill, lucky. And the dog was with me, and my dog's like, what is happening? And then after a mile, I grabbed my breath because I'm not a runner. I was dying. My chest was burning. Caught my breath, and I fast walked the next mile. It was probably 2 miles. I fast walked the next mile down to my car, and then I left out of there because I could tell something creepy it just didn't feel right. The situation felt wrong. So there are bad people. There are animals. You can get lost. People aren't prepared. They don't have the right shoes. They don't have water with them. You know, they get lost and they have no water, and the elements get to them. They're not dressed well. It's not Sasquatches. It's not anything supernatural. It is people who have no business being out. And I don't know how so many people who live in the South are so unprepared for going on a hike. I saw a family one time coming from church in their church clothes, and they were behind me. And they had like a picnic, and they had mud. The man had on loafers. He had mud up to his knees. The women had on dresses, and luckily the dresses were a little higher. But I just have seen so many things. I've gotten angry because I've seen children that shouldn't be at a place there. I've gotten like laughed because I've seen people fall. I've seen, rangers actually try to tell people to turn around because they know, they're like, your shoes, your feet are going to be torn up. Like, what are... Yeah, and so I don't know. It's not skinwalkers for the most part. It's animals. They're out in elements. These people don't know what they're doing. It is funny. It's not funny. It's actually very sad, but it is an interesting documentary. I am going tonight watch the 411 Hunted, and just look at that documentary too. So, anyways, there's my story for this weekend. If you have any questions about the C word, you can private message me. I'll probably post this on Facebook or Instagram. You can private message me, and I'm happy to answer any questions about what it was like. But honestly, it wasn't a big deal. Anyways, have a great rest of the Labor Day weekend, you guys. Bye.